Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into something that I'm sure a lot of you are curious about: AI and software development.
Yeah.
But we're going even deeper than that.
Oh,
We're talking about using large language models.
LLMs.
Yeah, LLMs as your very own AI pair programmer.
It's kind of like having a coding buddy
Right.
who's an AI.
Exactly. And our guide for this deep dive is an article by Anirban Saha on Medium. He's a data scientist, and he's done us a huge favor.
Oh, how so?
He summarized key takeaways from a whole Coursera specialization on LLMs for software development.
Nice. So we're getting like the condensed version.
Exactly. We're getting right to the good stuff.
Love it.
So we'll be looking at how LLMs can help with things like generating code writing tests, even picking the right software design pattern.
That's a lot to cover.
It is, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I think it'd be helpful to just start with the basics. You know, what LLMs are and how they can function as these so-called AI pair programmers.
Right. So LLMs are basically trained on a massive amount of code, and this allows them to learn how different programming languages work, how code is structured, and even those best practices that experienced developers use.
So they're not just spitting out random lines of code.
Yeah, not at all.
They're actually learning from the best.
Exactly. And because of that, you can actually interact with an LLM and ask it to do things like produce code snippets or even review your own code.
So it's like having an AI that not only knows how to write code, but also knows what good code looks like.
You got it?
That's pretty amazing. But how do we actually interact with these LLMs?
Good question. It all comes down to something called prompting.
Prompting.
Yeah, it's basically the art of crafting those instructions for the LLM so it understands what you want it to do.
Oh, okay, so it's like giving someone directions.
Precisely, the more specific and detailed your directions are, the better the chance they'll end up at the right place.
Right, that makes sense. But I'm guessing it's not as simple as giving one prompt and getting back perfect code.
You're right about that. It's more of a back and forth process.
Oh, so like a conversation.
Exactly. You start with a basic prompt, see what the LLM generates, and then you refine your prompt based on those results.
So it's really a collaboration.
It is.
Now, the article also mentioned something called role-based prompting.
Oh, yeah.
What exactly is that?
This is where things get really interesting. With role-based prompting, you can actually assign specific roles to the LLM.
Roles like what?
Well, for example, you could tell it to act as a mentor, to guide you through a tricky problem, or as a code reviewer to check your work.
Oh, that's cool.
You can even get more specific, like asking it to be a security expert to look for vulnerabilities.
Wait, so I could actually say to the LLM, hey, pretend you're a cybersecurity expert and look over this code.
Exactly. And by assigning a role, you're telling the LLM to approach the task from a certain angle and use its knowledge in that area to give you more tailored assistance.
So it's like having a whole team of experts all rolled into one AI assistant.
Pretty much.
Now let's move from the theory to some real-world examples.
How are developers actually using LLMs in their work?
Well, the article highlights some really cool use cases that go beyond just generating lines of code.
Like what?
For instance, using LLMs to tackle those data structure problems.
Okay.
You know, like if you need to find the shortest path in a graph, that's a classic problem solved by something called Dijkstra's algorithm.
Right.
You could actually ask an LLM to help you work through the logic of that algorithm and even generate the code to implement it.
So it's not just about producing code,
No,
but also understanding those underlying concepts and problem-solving strategies.
you got it.
That's impressive. I'm starting to see how these LLMs are so much more than just code generators.
They are really powerful tools, and we're just getting started.
Right. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore how LLMs are impacting team software engineering and even helping with high-level design decisions.
It's going to be good.
It is.
I'm excited.
Me too. Last time we were talking about how LLMs can be these awesome AI coding buddies.
Yeah. Helping us write code, understand algorithms, even act as these specialized experts through role-based prompting.
Right.
It's all really cool, but I'm curious how these LLMs fit into like a larger team setting. I mean, coding is just one piece of the software development puzzle.
Oh, absolutely. And this is where the real value of LLMs as team players comes in. They can really streamline the whole software development lifecycle.
Okay.
In what ways? Well, imagine being able to automatically generate comprehensive test suites.
For real?
Yeah, for like all sorts of testing, unit testing, functional testing, even security testing.
So you're telling me I could say goodbye to writing unit tests?
Well, maybe not completely goodbye, more like see you less often.
Oh.
LLMs can definitely automate a lot of the repetitive stuff in testing,
Right.
but we still need humans to make sure everything's working as intended.
So they're more like super-powered testing assistants.
Exactly. Augmenting our capabilities, not replacing us.
Gotcha. So what about other parts of team software development? Like writing documentation or managing dependencies? Those can be real-time syncs.
Oh yeah, LLMs can lend a hand there too. Remember doc strings.
Yeah.
LLMs can help automate writing that clear and concise documentation for your code.
So other developers can actually understand it.
Exactly.
Wow, so no more all-nighters just to document everything.
Well, hopefully you'll get more sleep.
That's the dream.
And then there's dependency management.
Making sure all those libraries play nice together.
Right. And LLMs can be super helpful with that, spotting potential conflicts, suggesting compatible versions, even identifying security risks.
So they're like dependency detectives.
Kinda.
It sounds like LLMs have the potential to like revolutionize so many aspects of software development.
I think so.
Are there real-world examples of teams actually using them for these tasks?
Absolutely. The Coursera Specialization mentioned in the article talks about a really common challenge.
What's that?
Updating code from Python 2 to Python 3.
Oh yeah, I've heard that can be a pain.
It can be, and the course actually shows how LLMs can make that transition way smoother.
So it's not just theory.
No.
These LLMs are solving real problems.
Real problems.
It's pretty amazing how versatile they are. We've covered coding testing, documentation, dependency management.
Yeah.
Is there anything these AI assistants can't do?
Well, they haven't taken over the world just yet.
Okay, good to know.
But in the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore how LLMs are even being used for complex software and system design.
Oh, wow.
Helping us make those big architectural choices.
I can't wait to hear about that.
It's going to be good.
We've seen how LLMs can be amazing coding partners, help with testing, even write documentation.
It's pretty wild.
But now we're talking about software and system design.
The big picture stuff.
Exactly, those high-level decisions about how our applications are structured and how they work.
Right.
So how can LLMs help us with this?
Well, it's really interesting how LLMs are moving beyond just the code itself
Okay.
and helping us think about design architecture.
So we're not just talking about like picking colors for a user interface.
No, much bigger than that.
Okay.
The article talks about something called configuration-driven development, or CDD.
CDD.
Yeah, it's all about using external configuration files to control how our applications behave.
So we can change things without changing the actual code.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm following.
So instead of hard-coding things like database connection details or API keys right in your code, you'd put those in separate files.
Makes sense. So if you need to change something, you just update the config file.
Right, and the cool thing is,
Yeah.
LLMs can help you choose the best format for those configuration files.
Oh, really?
Like, JSON is super readable,
Uh-huh.
while YAML is better for more complex structures.
Interesting.
And LLMs can even suggest specific settings based on what you need.
So it's like having an AI consultant for design.
Kind of.
Are there other areas of design where LLMs can be helpful?
Definitely database design is a great example. Building a database involves creating schemas, defining relationships between tables, making sure it all performs well.
That can be really complex.
It can be, and LLMs are becoming really powerful tools to help with all of that.
Wow. So we could basically describe our data needs to an LLM.
Yeah.
And it could help us build the database.
Pretty much, they can even generate the SQL code you need.
That's incredible.
Ah.
Are there other ways LLMs can help us design better software?
You know those design patterns, those tried and true solutions?
Oh yeah, the Gang of Four patterns, Singleton Factory Observer.
Exactly. Those are like blueprints for solving common design problems.
Right, but choosing the right pattern can be tricky.
It can be, and that's where LLMs come in.
Okay, how so?
They can guide you through those patterns.
Okay.
Explain how each one works, highlight the pros and cons, even suggest which one's the best fit for your problem.
Like having a design mentor right there with you.
Pretty much, and the best part is,
Yeah.
the Coursera Specialization actually shows how this works in practice.
Oh, cool. So it's not just theory. LLMs are already being used for this.
They are, and it's helping developers write cleaner, more maintainable code.
That's really exciting. It seems like LLMs are changing not just how we write code, but how we think about software development in general.
Yeah, it's a whole new way of approaching things.
What does all this mean for the future of software development?
That's the big question, isn't it?
This field is evolving so quickly, the potential of LLMs is huge.
Yeah, no doubt.
But it seems like the future is going to be much more collaborative with AI playing a bigger role.
I think so. It's both exciting and a bit daunting.
It is, but it's a journey I'm looking forward to.
Me too.
Any final thoughts for our listeners today?
Just remember, we've only scratched the surface here.
Right.
The most important thing is to stay curious, explore these tools, experiment, and keep learning.
Because this field is just getting started.
Exactly.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of LLMs and AI-powered software development.
My pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep coding.